Hello, welcome to Cable Plus Property, the #1 online educative platform on all issues related to land and landed properties. At Cable Plus Property, our aim is to ensure that Nigerians and non-Nigerians have at the tip of their finger all information related to land acquisition, land procurement, planning, documentation, and registration of land and landed properties. We provide you with all that you need to know about getting your property registered and obtaining your planning permits. In this video, I'll be speaking with a veteran in the built environment, Town Planner Waheed Kadiri. Having acquired the land, what are the processes a person needs to follow to obtain a planning permit?
I think we started from the last question. We want to have the right information. What can I use this land for? You don't, or you go to the planning office and say, I want to use this land for this purpose. Is it acceptable or not? You start from that. That's the basis. Now, if you are told you can use it for residential use, what type of residential use? What's the density type? I have to get that also. What's the coverage area that I can use? Because depending on the density area or the density zone, some you may cover 60%, some 40, some 50. And that also is applicable to other uses. You want to get all those fast right before you do your design to avoid delay. So the time you spend in getting those information will be a positive for you in processing the application. Now, when you do that, you know what you can propose. You now submit the plan. And I think what is being done, I'm not too sure about Ogun State, but in some states, what they do is you bring in your design first, and there's what they call pre-registration evaluation. All right, you can have your 6 flats, you can have your 4 flats, you can have your single house. However, your setback from the road should be 6 meters. There's a high tension power line adjacent to your property, so you must give so much. That will have been ironed out before you now submit your proposal, and then it will be assessed for the development assessment and other charges.
What documents are required by prospective developers to obtain a planning permit in Ogun State?
I'm not too conversant there. As a town planner who picks up information, I think your survey plan is paramount. Your acceptable architectural design. At a level, you must have the structural plan. And then the MRE, mechanical and electrical engineering design. Depending on how complex your development is. For a bungalow, maybe you don't need a structural engineering drawing. Once you get to a certain level, you may also need the mechanical engineering drawing will entail your air conditioning and plumbing plan. Electrical will show where will the switches, the level of lighting and all that. I think you have to have that. But also, I think in Ogun State, if your property has a certificate of occupancy, you must provide that.
Can a town planner assist developers to obtain a planning permit? If yes, how can he assist?
To obtain, let's qualify that. Because when you say obtain, it's like you are talking about procuring. And that has brought planning permit to the level of commoditization. You know, it's not about commodity. But what I think a town planner does or should do is to give planning advisory service, right? And what do I mean by planning advisory service? It's what I talked earlier about that planning student. We want to look at all areas that could be a stumbling block to getting the planning permit, and you're advised to remove those stumbling blocks. For example, I think also in Ogun State, and that's where a town planner comes in as a professional, you are supposed to support certain planning proposals with what is called a technical planning report. And in some states, they even ask for traffic impact analysis, which is the area. But in terms of procuring, I don't want to use the word, what is
Obtain.
Obtain. Because if planning process goes online, you don't have to be a town planner to submit your whatever, but you may need a planner to guide you and guide you right. And a planner can also be useful in your reacting to certain objections by the planning agency. A planner can come in there. For example, I've been involved in a situation where someone wants to build an event center, a hall, that's what it was called there, a hall, and the proposal was rejected on the basis that that's the reason, and that's the beauty of planning. If you are rejecting an application, you must tell the applicant the basis for rejection, and the planner can come in here. And how did I come in that proposal that I was talking about? The basis for rejection of the application for the hall was that the plot was too small. And now I raised the question, what do you mean by small? Which one is big enough? What's the standard? If it's standard, how much square meters can you approve? If this is 0.75 of your standard, why can't you just approve 0.75 of approvable whatever? First of all, we first made the point that that site was good. They had no objection about that place being a hall. What they had objection for is that the plot was too small, and nobody was talking about parking space and whatever. So as a planner, I use that technical side to make a case for the applicant. A planner can come in that way. A planner can also advise the architect in the design because he knows what will be acceptable to the planning authority. You don't want to design in such a way that your setback is inadequate. You don't want to design in such a way that I'm relating to residential development now, that the number of family units you are providing is beyond what is acceptable. Am I making sense? So in that way, a town planner could be of assistance.
Development control activities in the past were not as difficult as it is now, even though people were not so educated then. Why does it seem like things have become more difficult and people find it difficult to adhere strictly to planning regulations? Why is that?
Now there's a reason. In those days that we are talking about, how many developments were coming up per month in a defined area? There was lesser number of developments. Therefore, the planning personnel were adequate, the number. Though we've always found that planners, we never have enough planners. But in those days, they were not as stretched as we have now. And the extent of development being controlled was not as wide as it is now. You can imagine in those days, if you were in Abeokuta, the extent of development is still within almost just the core area. But now if you are in Abeokuta, development has extended to Obadaoko, Odeda, almost as far as Kobakwe and all that. Therefore, development points are becoming more remote to the control points. And of course, we should not take away the fact that facilities available are not going in tandem with the demand of the development rates. And of course, we are becoming also more aware of the danger of non-compliance. In the last 20 years, there have been a lot of collapse, and that had made all of us aware of the fact of being compliant with planning permission.
So kindly explain to the audience what is right of way and who determines it? When is it determined?
A right of way is the space you provide for the road, though it's not absolutely where the vehicles ply. Right of way goes beyond the carriageway, and the carriageway is where the vehicles are on, the lanes. But beyond that, you must have space for drainage, you must have space for walkway. But let me summarize by saying the right of way is the extent of space undeveloped between one property at one side of the road and the property at the other side of the road. And of course, is determined by the category of road we are talking of. If you are on federal highway, the right of way will be different from a state road, right? And the right of way on a state road will be different from a local street. Maybe for a local street, you don't need space for the drainage and putting up the electricity pole because of the low level of traffic expected. There may not be absolutely need for space for parking and need for space for pedestrians on a local street. But when you get to a highway, there's need for that.
Who determines it? Is it a developer or?
No, it's not a developer. No, one thing we have to appreciate that planning is more of a regulating thing than what we see as 6 meters, 4 meters. Even if I'm asking you to give setback of 6 meters, I must have been empowered by a regulation that says setbacks must be 6 meters. It's not something that just comes to the town planner and say, no, how do you want to put up such a beautiful house? I don't want to give space. No, it's regulated. On this road, the setback will be 6 meters. Therefore, on this road, the right of way, because of the road type that I want to bring in, or the intended road type. For example, let's use Lagos-Ibadan Expressway as example, or even the ongoing Badagry Express Road. I think the right of way now is 100 meters in Badagry, and that's futuristic. You can imagine if the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the right of way was based on what they wanted to construct. As at then, we won't have the chance to expand the roads the way we are doing now. So the right of way is determined by the authority, and most of the time, the engineering people, works people will determine it because they do the design and they know what the plans are. A road that is just 2 lanes now, we may have it in mind that it will become 4 lanes in future. So we must provide for that space.
So it is determined before development commences?
Yes. Or as development commences, that could be changed. When, for example, we have an existing road leading into a new development. For example, what's the best example I can give now? You know, Yetayo Road in Oshodi, Bolade. When I was in secondary school at Ikeja Grammar School, it was just a residential road linking up to Agegebuto Road. But now, that road links Agegebuto Road to Airport Road at another point. Therefore, traffic on it has become more. Therefore, you need more space. What I'm trying to say is that there could be what's the word now? Amendment. There could be new legislation as development goes on.
Why is observance of right-of-way important? What is the reason? Why do we have to give right-of-way?
Because we ought to live well. Safety, security. Safety in the sense that, let's take, say you came through Ojore. You know, all those of us who are living in Ojore know what nuisance value that place has. If Ojore, the right of way in Ojore had been compromised, people develop almost to the tip of the carriageway. Traders put up their goods. They display their goods right to the edge of the road. So if there is, for example, any brake failure and the driver wants to avoid the vehicle in front, you see that he avoids hits the oncoming vehicle, or he goes to the right side. If he does that, it goes into the properties, the displayed, what the traders have displayed, and of course, some people might have been crushed, right? And also, let me tell you, the other purpose of right-of-way could also be tree planting. If within the right-of-way you plant trees, those living along that road have two advantages. The fumes and carbon monoxide produced by the road, those living on the other side of the road are protected from fume, from obnoxious smell, from vibration, and even from noise. So those are the advantages. And of course, if there is any emergency need, like say fire, if a fire truck has to be on the main road for it to attend to fire in a house, it will disrupt traffic and all that. But if we have adequate right of space, the fire truck moves away from the main road to attend to these people.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Cable Plus Property. As well, like our Facebook page at Cable Plus Property, and also make sure you follow us on Instagram at Cable Plus Property. My name is Oiza. Thank you for watching, and this is Cable Plus Property.